Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cosmic Labyrinth. We are here. We have our today Charlie, myself, and we have Miss Tizzle as my co-host, and we have our great guest today, Jackie Rose. She'll be joining us. Hi, Jackie, and she's
Hello,
also
hello.
one of our members in Cosmic Labyrinth. So we'll be sharing her story about the Cosmic Labyrinth. But today we're really excited to really bring into the topic of finance and money, right? Everybody wants to talk about money, so it's gonna be a very interesting conversation about money and education, right? We're gonna let it rain digitally and physically.
Age
Water
of
token.
Aquarius.
So to start our show for the day, we have our astrology for the next 2 weeks. So let us go to our little weather report here, right? Missing kind of like my green screen here. So today here, 8:40 in Houston. So we started the show a little late, but we're all good. Here we go. So we had the conjunction going on last time, but this time we're now Mars has entered Gemini here. So the conjunction is a little bit off now. I think Mars has more of a airy energy, so a little bit more flowy, right? So things might kind of move a little bit faster for the Mars energy.
Sporadic and random, y'all. All you Geminis out there, whether it's your sun, your rising, or your moon, just really think before you take action. Don't be all over the place. Because when you have Mars and Gemini together, it's like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. Oh, it's like Mars or Gemini on steroids when it's in Mars. And that's a lot, y'all. Like, I'm a Gemini moon. I'm speaking from experience. Slow down. Think first.
I imagine when you imagine Mars, imagine that someone's just putting some rockets on them, on you, right? And just moving much faster.
Oh man. Oh, and I feel like I know this is an external planet, but I've been sending this to all my soul fam about Uranus and Taurus. There's gonna be some disruption, y'all, in your foundation, in your finances, in areas of love, but it's for the good, because Uranus is about like new and exciting and innovative, right? Aquarius goodness. But when it's in Taurus, it's to like shake your shit up, like don't, if you're in this state of like Taurian energy where you're like, no, I'm good where I am, I'm not gonna go anywhere. Uranus, Uranus is about to check you super, super hard. And it's gonna be here until January 22nd. So we got 5 months of really discerning what our needs versus what our wants are, and to be clear on it. So buckle up. It's gonna be fun and for your highest good. Don't be sad. Get motivated.
Yeah. And Taurus also has it rules the second house, so it's all about finance too, right? Or assets. And so we're reevaluating what we consider assets, right? Because I mean, it also rules a lot of the farming, right? Because this is kind of where farmers grew food, and that became what we value, and that was kind of what we used to use as assets of valuation between countries, right? Because at one point in countries, what we valued and traded was food, spices and food. So that's very much that Taurian energy.
Agreed. Cosine.
And then I think the new moon is coming up in a day or two, right? So the moon is kind of coming into Virgo soon, but it's not yet. So the moon is still living her best self, right? Living her best life emotionally, but once we get into, and let's see, once we get into the moon in Virgo, let's see how many days, in a day or two. Yeah, within a day, Virgo and I mean, the moon and the sun will be together in a new moon. And that's kind of when everything kind of like what you became passionate about during that Leo energy, right? When you were really
Mhm.
excited, living your best life, being creative, being expressive, anything that became, very loving, like a new passion of loving, you just learn a new kind of way to draw or to paint. This is now a time where if you really want that to become a master, it's mastership skill, if you want to really evolve that passion of yours, then like the moon and going into the sun, the new moon is kind of where a good time with this is where people can manifest and say, hey, I love painting and I want to be even better at painting. So you can set your manifestation letter during the new moon. And with Virgo, it's all about every day working and iterating on it, right? So we're moving into the energy of Virgo now, where the sun in Virgo just came into Virgo within the last day. So the moon's coming in together, and I think um, it it's usually known as the harvester, right? She comes in, and this is where also during the season of where we have farms. This is a good time where we tend to harvest a lot of crops, right? And that's when we're getting ready for the winter. So this is the beginning of fall. We start harvesting. However, this is a really important time because with that comes a lot of work. But it's almost kind of like your dues are happening because you're putting the effort every day in a routine. So it's very powerful to go into the space now of like creating new habits, right? And that's powerful this new moon in Virgo.
I also just want to like Cosmic Labyrinth family and our audience, like Charlie's about to have his solar return, y'all, as the Virgo. So I just want to give, Charlie his big ups to like coming into the solar return. When is our exact date? When is it happening? Like, make sure I blow
September
you up.
6th. September
Yes,
6th is my birthday.
right before Mercury goes retrograde.
Yes. And then I do have my Uranus opposition this year. So
Yes,
yes, yes. So it's gonna be very,
new things.
and so my Uranus opposition is happening right now it's going to be 22 degrees. So right now it's at 18 degrees Taurus, and that's also conjunct the north node,
Oh,
right?
dude. And 22 degrees in Aquarian degrees. So it's like, that's a lot. Yay for things being restructured and rebuilt.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm really excited for the opposition. It really kind of, to me, Uranus opposition is very important because this is what people know as the midlife crisis, and people see it manifest in people who choose to like go the opposite direction, right? Where they spend all their previous, first 40 years doing something, and then at 40 they realize they're missing out on this part of their life, and so they kind of make a huge kind of direction. So for me, I had a Uranus in Scorpio, the occult and all the like invisible stuff. And I chase ghosts. I mean, metaphorically speaking, I chase ghosts. So my Uranus opposition is in Taurus, which is very much to me like
Dude.
I had to go and like go farming. Like going to farm is like the best way for me to chase ghosts, because the ghosts that came coming when I was chasing ghosts was like my great great ancestor who said, go make a farm. Like, what? My ghost told me to make a farm? That's my Uranus opposition. Like a ghost showed up and said, hey, you be chasing ghosts. Stop chasing ghosts like that. So don't go chasing waterfalls. Don't be chasing ghosts. Go and work on the farm. It's like, oh my
Be
God.
grounded. Be
Yes.
grounded.
Yes.
Tap into that Virgo and Earth energy.
And we're seeing it right now where, we're talking about resoil projects, yet, all farmers across the globe are going through a lot of changes.
Mm,
They're getting pushed
big.
out. They're getting, a lot of flack for growing our source of food. So it's very interesting. And that's kind of where, once you have the food kind of out the way, then like you have this currency to allow us to then value everything else based on food, right? Because once people have food covered, like you got to figure out how to value the rest of life and the rest of the trinkets that we have in society.
It's so real. And I just to segue for those of you who are in California, and I posted this in my Instagram stories, that the California farm workers are marching 335 miles to Sacramento to convince Governor Gavin Newsom to sign AB 2183, which is the Agricultural Labor Relations Voting Choice Act. And essentially, this act would give farmers more choices to the workers, and so that they would be able to vote in secret, right? And so they don't have to be like exposed and like not really have the sovereignty that they're supposed to have over their land, right? Like, so I just definitely, if you're about like saving like food scarcity and supporting the worker, right? Supporting the farmer and like making sure we have food. This is something, if you're in California, it's definitely something to pay attention to. And like there's petitions going around, like walking like over 300 miles to get something signed. It's not a joke. It's like a serious thing, because if farmers don't have say over what it is they're doing with their land, then you have people coming in who just like to buy up land, who want to come in and GMO the F out of whatever you're doing and put in all this like unnatural food. And we don't need that, because it's suppresses our immune system and like all these other things. So sorry for the slight tangent, but what you just said and what's happening collectively, it's like it's so aligned. So
And it's nice.
FYI fam.
It's nice because when Mars was in Taurus, it's almost kind of like the warrior went to the farm to work on the farm and said, "Oh no, 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 this can't go." You know, Mars is like, "No, like you guys can't be invading our farm like that." So Mars is like, "I'm gonna go Paul Revere on everybody and go and spread the message. Farms are being
Yeah.
attacked, right? And Uranus
Yeah.
over here trying to start some revolution because you
Like,
know the major corporation is trying to buy out all of a farm, right? And trying to centralize it rather than it's all about all of us being able to grow. And you know, Uranus has a very like individualized farming, not industrialized farming, right? And I
yep.
think that's kind of like that Uranus in Taurus energy. So that's really exciting to see. Let's kind of go and see the next 2 weeks if anything kind of jumps at you.
I love it. Mm,
We got the moon in Scorpio, the moon conjunct the south node here,
oh man.
September 1st. So any kind of
Mm.
moon Scorpio stuff, I that one I always kind of say,
You know some shit's about to go down,
yeah, yeah.
right?
September 1st.
And
Those
it's in that same house, like
I think it's those who can see will see, and those who cannot, don't worry about it. It's probably not gonna happen in your reality. So we can kind of let that pass by for the Scorpios who were like, shh, Charlie, shh. We Scorpios are trying to do something in the middle of the
about
night.
to be lit. It's about to be
Yeah.
lit.
Don't let
One
the
of
Leo
my so
rising.
wait, this is so funny you say this, because one of my Scorpio students today, we were talking about something, and then there was an affirmation or confirmation, like, no, do it this way so it'll be easier. And then her face just like got weird. She was like, oh my God, I just saw a shadow. And I was like, yeah, you did. Like, let your scorpionic energy bust out. And she was like, oh my God, but it was weird. I really saw a shadow. Did y'all see a shadow? And I was like, that was just for you, baby. That was just for you.
Yes, right.
So it is, like Charlie said, for those of you who are ready to see, you will see, and those everyone else, just go about your business.
It's just another shadow that you don't believe in, so it's okay.
Hmm.
So let's see. We're September. What makes us September 25th? Let's go a couple more days. Anything else going on? What do you think about the moon coming back around here on my birthday?
Dude, in the 10th house,
Yeah.
like no big deal.
So
Not striving for big things at all.
here's my solar returns 13 degrees, sun sun in Virgo. So this will be my birthday. Let's see, so energy. Moon in Capricorn, okay.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Grounded emotions, I'll take that. Uh, yeah,
It's mellow. I mean, not mellow, but like you're ready for it because you've been doing the work
in
and
this
like
day
you're
and
ready for the
age,
transition.
I'm okay with nothing crazy chaotic because I mean the whole world's doing it all at once anyway. So
Facts. Big facts. What else?
yeah, comes in back. So I think it's gonna be a chill 2 weeks, and it's good because I do hear end of September, early October. There's a lot of conjunctions and a lot of intense energies that will be confronted. So
Lots
um,
of retrogrades happening right now, y'all.
yeah.
Like
So right
reflect on your
now,
stuff.
take your time to reflect. I think a lot of us we've been trained to have this like go 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 energy, going back to this Mars in Gemini, right? It wants to kind of go go go, and sometimes we're not taught to kind of sometimes go, wait, actually if you take a deep breath, maybe 3 breaths, new options may show up.
Yes.
And when we take those deep breath, new option may show up, giving us a different perspective of what we could potentially do, or what are some other paths that we can run.
Hustle culture is not the way anymore, y'all. Hustle culture is not the way anymore. If anybody is telling you hustle culture is the way, give them the side eye. And really, really, no, for real, really consider if this is someone that you want in your space. Really consider if this is someone you want to build with, because that's not moving forward, that's going backwards. So thanks for that, Charlie.
Yeah, that hustle culture reminds me of that LMFAO song, right? Every day I'm hustling.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I do
Yeah,
love that song though.
so we can
It's a
say,
very good song.
whoa, that's so 2000. We don't hustle anymore.
Word. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna start saying that.
Yeah.
Well done. LMFAO. Wow.
So thank you everyone for listening through the astrology weather. And so we're really excited now to be able to have the rest of the conversation today with our great friend Jackie, who will be talking about both crypto. The crypto conversation is super exciting right now. Everyone is kind of excited about it. I think it's the new evolution of web, right? This is, if anybody's been there, for the .com to the mobile apps to all the different blowing up of tech stages. This is crypto is a very interesting one. So we're very excited to be able to talk to Jackie more about it, and we'll get to know more about her history.
Hello. Well,
Welcome, friend.
yes, that was a wonderful report. And farming and agriculture has been like super big in my space over the last like 2-3 weeks. So everything's kind of lining up. But I watch you guys every show, and I'm always like, yes, that happened. Charlie was right about everything. Like, so
Astrology is the way, y'all. Don't get it twisted.
it is.
Yes.
It's a good bonding factor.
Yeah, exactly. And integrating it is really important, right? Because I think a lot of times people kind of like say it, and then it like they go back into their everyday life, right? So it's important to kind of say, no, this is what we're doing about it, versus like, oh yeah, that's just another transit. Oh no, it's not just another transit.
Well, and we all have to be like special at our own thing. I'm glad that I have you guys, because I haven't been like reading the charts as much as I used to. But my mom, she tells my dog his horoscope every day. So
Oh my God, I love that.
Taurus.
That dog is
My heart's so happy.
Yeah, he's always up to something.
So good.
Making work
pet horoscopes
and new
Pet
relationships.
Yes, good job, Mom.
Yes.
I
But
do
anyway,
think that horoscope is a thing. I have a
I
Scorpio.
had never heard of this until right now. What's up? Why am I so behind? What?
Welcome to the party, Mr. Zo.
Like,
I don't know much about my full chart of my cat, but like I just know that he was a Scorpio season baby. So I see like those energies happening.
yeah. But
This
actually,
is making so much sense right now. I'm having just like a little moment. My bad. Let me focus.
no, you're good. But it's cool because actually I think one thing with astrology and what we're doing with the Cosmic Lab and the tokens and the crypto and all that stuff is, you know, you mentioned earlier, Tizzle, like we got to get on this hustle culture thing. And a lot of it is just everything is cycles, you know, like right now, actually, like crypto markets are down. There's been blood on the streets for months. It's awful. But even myself, like I have to remind myself that this is just, it's all cyclical, you know, and even through the worst times when things get better, you know, it didn't seem as long as it was when you were like going through it, you know, like, cause you're like, oh, it's good again. Cool. Like,
Breather. I love
but
it.
Remind me
yeah.
of like in this too shall pass, right? You've heard that.
Yes. You have to. And I mean, I guess I'll just jump into like telling you guys about myself, right? Should I?
Yes, please.
It's late here. It's 10 o'clock on the East Coast. So I'm a little like,
Yeah, so thank you for having a late conversation with it's late conversation tonight with Cosmic Labyrinth.
Is this our first 3 time zone show? I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yes.
This is awesome, right? This is very Aquarian to me that we can have a great conversation at night in 3 time zone.
space goes coast to coast.
Yeah. Oh, such a good show. Such a good show.
Yeah. So, okay. Gosh, I'm like, go back to the beginning. So I was in newspapers for 12 years and I got a MBA in global supply chain management in that time. And I was dealing with like our newsprint. So trading it between like Canada and here. So I was like keenly aware of like just international trade and all the things that go into that, like when you're dealing on like logistics, like with docks and things like that. And so I'd like learned about tokens at that point, like how we were really going to use blockchain and this new Web3, this new internet that's based on fiber optics and decentralized nodes and servers and all this stuff. And basically, long story short, it just means that we're able to handle data much quicker, much more, I almost say like surgically, like we can peer-to-peer connect now, like and this is, it's borderless technology, but of course there's a lot of things going on in the background to put fences and walls up and things like that. And some of it's warranted, some of it's up for debate, but right now we're still early in adoption. Well, anyway, I'm not like telling my story very succinctly here, but yeah, I ended up getting out of newspapers in like 2019 and I went full time in on like educating on this. My friend Alex had a business called My Crypto Advisor and he was doing one-on-one consults at the time. This was like a long, you know, these were early days. It was 2018. And yeah, we did like a lot of professional seminars and things like that. And people were like, you know, just a few years ago, people were so anti-crypto. Like, I mean, people's only exposure to it was like Silk Road and people like money laundering and buying drugs and stuff like that. But there's actually been a lot of analytics done on that. And it's like under 1% of transactions are, I think it's even like way smaller than that. But it's really just a way of handling data. The finance stuff is like what everyone talks about, but blockchain as an infrastructure is already well laid out. And, you know, Microsoft and IBM, the biggest companies, Starbucks is using blockchain solutions. I mean, we're already well in, I mean, we're probably 10 years into supply chain solutions of blockchain. One of the earliest examples was a company called Everledger that was putting diamonds on the blockchain. So we're well into this, but it's still new. And these are the technology gaps we experience, right?
So to our audience, just in case, you know, people may not know a lot about blockchains and crypto, could you give us kind of like a quick summary of, to everyday people without a lot of the tech, but like,
yeah,
what is it that we're looking at that is so exciting to everybody about the technology? Because it's really like in the world of crypto digital currency, what I know of is really that fundamental blockchain technology that is actually makes everything and what we do really powerful. So could you give us kind of like what it does to a regular person? Why does that matter?
Okay, so through our iterations of the internet as we know it, the web, you know, if you can go back to like dial-up days, things were like pretty slow, right? And then we got cable, things got faster. We were all like, sweet, I can download many more songs on Napster than I could on the dial-up. And now we're on fiber optics. So it's really the speed in which data can move. And then also on top of that, we have these decentralized storage centers. So on Web 2, like when we basically could all start going on to Amazon and buying things, or Facebook and post, like we were interacting. So Web 1 was read only, Web 2 was read and write. We could, transact, but everything was going on central stores, servers. So like if I want to do things with my bank right now, I have to log on to their website. They are handling all my data. I'm inputting it. And the bank has a lot of overhead because they actually have to like have entire IT teams devoted to managing these central servers. And the big deal is that it's a unique point of failure. How many data breaches have we seen from tons of companies? But when you have everything stored in a central location, that's what you're opening yourself up to. So by distributing data and storage, we're actually using all these decentralized nodes to validate one another. So it's just like a really great system of keeping things secure, keeping things time-stamped. And so this generation we're in now, this Web3, it's read, write, and execute. So it gets into data ownership. Like we in that example I told you, like we didn't own any of the data that we're giving to Facebook or that we're giving to our bank. But with blockchain, we're actually able to store and use our own data. And a third party is not needed to do that for us. So it's really going to like revolutionize and change things in ways that are going to feel subtle, but are really a big deal.
The most recent metaphor that I can think of technically is probably kind of what we experienced with what was I gonna say? Like in tech, we've experienced something similar to that too, that we're able to just get information. Napster and peer-to-peer protocol. So where we could get our music from a store that didn't have the person who made the music. They were actually like 3 steps removed from the person who made the music, right? Because it was CDs, and you got CDs, and so you got the product, but you never met the artist. And then we went to Napster, where servers were holding all the music now, but people who had it on their computer, they were considered a node. So now instead of waiting for one computer to download, for 100 people to line up to download one song, anywhere where any computer had this song, it was considered a node. So instead of waiting for 100 people waiting for one line, if there's 100 computers, you'd have one line, one person waiting 100 computers to get that data.
Yeah.
Right. And so that made revolutionized music right now. On top of that, the next layer was like a Spotify today, right? That took the Napster concept, created another system where it's kind of all in one place, but now you can access the information on a cloud. So it's just different levels of accessing data. And so what's really interesting is our money was the bank institution with dollar bills is the CD experience.
It's really interesting that you bring Napster up, actually, because if we would have had blockchain technology back then, we would have had NFTs. Every song that was uploaded to Napster would have been an NFT. You could have retained royalties to the artist. So that's like actually a really great example. And everything we're doing in this Web3, like these metaverses, for those of us who are old enough, we remember Second Life. We remember the first chat rooms. So we're just doing
AOL
it in a
chat
way
room.
now.
Dude, AOL chat rooms. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
the scandals.
Well, you know what? It's great that you say that, because actually this is something that I think about a lot. I was definitely in the guinea pig generation of the internet, AOL Instant Messenger and like all these new things, chat rooms and all these things we were doing. And we're in that spot again, like with young people. I mean, we all deal with young people, and it's a lot more, it's more dangerous in certain ways, and then it's a lot safer in other ways. So, and this is a lot of why I do what I do. Like I live by the expression, like, I just want to be the person I needed when I was younger. So, and the internet was a place that like I went to for a lot of the things I was going through. I was bullied really bad in high school. So like, and this thing was just growing and coming to fruition. And like, I was finding more resources for help there, but I was also, as a 14 and 15-year-old girl, exposing myself to people who absolutely could have like preyed on that. And, and we see that happens all the time now. So for parents and people our age, like, it is important to get involved, like, know what the metaverse is, like try to understand and connect with your young people, because it's, you just never know. Not that I want to like incite fear or anything, but
no, it's just awareness. It's super important to have that awareness. Like, as an educator, we used, like, there's trainings on how to educate young people on how to navigate social media, have awareness of people who are trying to catfish you, have awareness of people who are trying to scam you to give them money. And like, y'all, with Uranus doing what it's doing in Taurus, the scam game is about to be so big. Like, quick little hack. When you're on Instagram, if you go to someone's profile, look for the about, and it'll tell you when the profile was made. And it's so scandalous, because when you see a lot of these hacker or scam pages, they're from Nigeria. I hate to say it.
What's up with this Nigerian
It's
princes?
real. And I hate to say it, but like,
the scam was Nigeria.
when you go to the about, 9 out of 10 times it'll be, and it's like, yo, this is a blonde haired Caucasian woman who says she's a psychic, and her Instagram page says she's from Nigeria and it was made in 2022.
Now, could the conspiracy be that maybe no one is online in Nigeria, and so they use that as a way to kind of like catfish everybody who thinks a lot of people are? And I'm sorry if Nigeria, you're all online, but that's just really weird how only
get your people, Nigeria, please.
Nigeria.
Please, thank you.
We talked about chasing ghosts earlier. Maybe there's just this big thing we got to address right now.
Ghosts in the machine, right?
There was like a documentary about that really bad tsunami that happened in Asia. I can't remember, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, but they were saying that like the spiritual leaders there were talking about how like all these souls were like walking around still, because it was like this mass, like, death or whatever. And I don't know why this happened, but when I was watching it, I was thinking about them all like incarnating in the metaverse to like work stuff out. And I was like, I wonder if like maybe that can happen.
Dude, Ghost in the Machine. I feel it. I feel that. There's ways. Okay. It's not limited to just
Craigslist got a post for looking for spiritual ghost psychics for the metaverse.
It's like the personals.
It's the Sixth Sense personal, right? Like other psychics who can help.
That's what I want to be. Like, I want to be like a death doula. Like, if anyone's hanging around that hasn't passed over yet. I should not say that. I'm gonna go to sleep.
There are death doulas. It's a thing. Like, you're prophesizing, you're predicting what's going to happen, Jackie.
I actually think that if we go, speaking of which, like astrology, if we looked at astrology, and I've been looking at astrology specifically to see what people were naturally gifted at or liked. And I think if people who allow Scorpio energy to really mature into what they're good at, they'd be at every funeral trying to help people transition. Because that's, and it doesn't have to be just Scorpios, but like, that energy, water energies, there's a lot of energies are strongly connected with the other realm, and they're meant to be they're like ambassadors, right?
Yes.
Shamans call them those who see the other side. And we've also heard about indigenous shamans looking and being horrified at the people in mental institutions who were actually supposed to be our shamans who can see the other side, but because they were not normalized in our culture, they were kind of put to the side, right? So this is important, where like if we were having real conversations about real human potential using astrology, I'll be telling everybody in mental hospitals, like, hey, let's go back and get our shamans back.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine on job applications if you're like, what's your date of birth? Do you have any Scorpio in your chart? We need you to help.
Yeah.
We need you to tap into that other realm, that other side, to really help those who are going through psychological or mental breakdowns, but are really just opening up to see things that like aren't really talked about, aren't really discussed, aren't the status quo. Game changer.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
I'm
I
actually,
co-sign your death duelist, Jackie.
well, it's funny that this is like, so my mom is a Scorpio and I'm a Pisces. And so we both like express our water signs very different. But like 3 people have like passed away in my house. Like my mom's always, we've like family members have always like come here. My mom's like always just been like a natural caretaker. And so it's always like, even when I was younger, like, oh my gosh, we just, at one point, like one family member died. And then it was just like every 3 months, like somebody was passing away. And it was like a big part of those years for me from like
Mm,
10 to like 17. It was just very consistent and constant.
dude,
And
7 years.
yeah, and it's weird. It's really colored my whole experience on earth and like what I think and what I do and why I do it. But
How beautiful.
it is now, but it wasn't then. Like I feel like
Right.
we're way more open about death and even like COVID brought it up a lot, you know. I mean, it was, you know, Charlie like mentioning that like it was absolutely inhumane that people couldn't see their loved ones and say goodbye to them. And I mean, I'm like still angry about some of that. And it's just, I personally, I didn't go through it, thank God. But I mean, people that couldn't see their grandparents, and it's just horrible.
It was on both ends. If you were bringing a child into the world, you
Yeah.
couldn't have your partner or the person that helped you make the child. You couldn't have them in the room with you. Like what?
Yeah.
Well,
There
yeah,
was so much. Yeah.
I think we, clinically speaking, we all experience PTSD, right? Because we have a collective
Major.
experience, and what's happened from that is we've kind of lost connection with ourselves, because you could see what happened is in keeping us separate, isolated, as social beings, we
Yeah.
found other ways to connect, right? So it's just really
Wow.
interesting, like going back to cycles again, is that the cycles are meant to create creativity with challenges. Because it's really
Mm.
important to understand that, because um, a lot of times people are scared of the shadow, the challenges, just things that are really hard to deal with, especially transitioning, right? Because we then can go back to the conversation of the thing that's really tough about some deaths is what they leave behind. And sometimes what they leave behind is money that obviously you
Mm.
hear could be detrimental to family dynamics.
Yep.
We always hear crazy stories about, especially huge amount of money that gets left behind and what happens to families. Um, well, always going back to the conversation of money, but it's something that like we don't really have a good place to have conversation about that. We've all heard also that like when that happens, Uncle Sam kind of comes in and says, "But you don't need any of this money. You didn't use it before. You don't need it now."
So crazy.
And so
Put your
generational,
beneficiaries, y'all. Write up your
yeah,
beneficiaries, please.
exactly. So, is there a conversation where, it makes us the everyday person who works really hard, that we could find some financial freedom if that's, not a true illusion.
No, and I think that's a beautiful segue in talking about like crypto and talking about Web3 and having having people who have like ownership and like, yes, this is mine, right? And when you made the comment about like Spotify being like the Napster, that like blew my mind because like high key, that's exactly what it is. But those who don't know about Napster, forgot about it, are just like, oh yeah, I'm paying for this service now. And it's like, wait. Huh? They're literally just having everyone pay for something that so many people went to jail for, but now they've monetized it and made it into this huge capitalist thing. And so with crypto and like NFTs and Web3, it's like the decentralization is such the revolution And it's really giving the power back to the people.
Yeah.
And this
And
is where we can't let the commercialization of this revolution happen, right? Because that's the danger. It's like we're gonna
we're there right now.
right? We
That is-
are. Well,
That's actively happening like this
exactly.
week.
Who are we replacing, right? You're like, oh yeah, these people are bad, and then who are you bringing? If they're just as bad and there's nobody else, we're kind of in a really bad situation, right? And this is where like we need everybody, everyday person to become the new leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah. And to your point, Charlie, I mean, this is why like Alex and I at My Crypto Advisor, like we teach people the tools. Like we don't like, I've had people ask me, Jackie, what crypto should I invest in? It's like, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to tell you that. But, you know, or there's even just people that want people to like, here, I'll give you $100. Just, can you do it for me? And I've done that for people. I mean, whatever, maybe I shouldn't admit that. But they were family members. But it's like, yeah, you want, like, I'm in this to teach people like the importance of a digital wallet. Like, so just to like break this down really, really quickly, like we have a new asset class that's emerged. Like I see us all right now, and whether we want to like, you know, buy into this narrative or not, like either way, like it's almost like we're at the time of like the automobile is just about to come out because we've all decided that the petrodollar is going to be, you know, what makes everything move and shake. So we're going to build roads and we're going to, you know, we're going to facilitate automobiles. Like that's what's going to happen right now, and other oil related activities. So in 2017, data usurped oil as the most valuable commodity in the world. So my brain then thinks, okay, so the same way we drill for crude oil, we refine it, we turn it into thousands of different products, you know, down to your Nestle water bottle is petroleum based product. So the same thing's happening with data. So we're mining it through blockchain infrastructure, and then that data is sitting somewhere, it's on a ledger. There are private blockchains and then there's public blockchains, but basically think of it the same way. We're going to refine that. We're going to turn that into stuff that's meaningful. I mean, I get maybe that's a little abstract, but like that's at least the opportunity right now that I see, that if you can sort of look at, you know, I follow projects that I think have long-term utility in that they facilitate blockchain functions. But you won't know that stuff unless you dive in and like do it yourself. So like I'm a big proponent of, you know, teaching a man to fish, not giving them fish. So that's kind of the same thing there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like we all remember, you know, maybe our parents teaching us like, you know, here's a wallet, you put money in the wallet, right? And how to save, right? And I remember that early on when I was young, and that's kind of the extent of my financial education by my parents. But however, like today, like, you know, I'm sure parents are like, what is a digital wallet? You know, do you guys make those out of leather still? Like,
You know what though? It really is so much more natural. Like Web3 is really what the internet like should have been. Like Web2's just been this weird bridge that we all had to like deal with for a while. But like really like one thing you'll notice on Web3 is on Web2, you have to enter a username and password for every single website that you go to. But on Web3, you're just connecting your wallet, which is really like the real world where you have your wallet on you. And everywhere you go, you pay from that. You don't like log into Target, then log into, you know, wherever you go, Trader Joe's. I'm trying to name ritzy places, nice place. I almost said Walmart. I was like, don't go to, I don't know. Whatever. If you're at Louis Vuitton, you know.
You know, it's funny, but it's actually the bigger corporation will probably incorporate all these newer data tech, right? Because they're getting thousands of people going through their stores where like a Louis Vuitton, you know, you just need one person buying a $2,000 pen for them to like be good for like a good year. But like Walmart's getting like thousands of people through that door in a second. So it makes sense at that point. Data makes sense for them, right? To invest in data.
Yep. And that's really what it's going to come down to at this point is, you know, we all sacrifice things for convenience. And even now, I mean, there's a lot about crypto. It's still early adoption. Like so much of it is just straight up inconvenient. I mean, we all put a DAO together. We all, and you guys remember like what some of the steps were for that, but it's still like clunky. And that was even kind of like easy stuff, that was like a mobile based wallet and that, but yeah, there's a lot to build still.
Yeah, and what's important in the new tech space too is that both parents and children are starting to kind of learn the tech in a new way. And so it's really important where I think, we have to rethink that education is for both parents and kids. Because I think what happens in the education program is that to us, we're seeing it, right? It's the digital divide. The digital divide is happening between generation where I used to work in IT tech, and so the big joke was like, oh, grandpa, grandma, like you can't turn on the computer. Hey, do you have like a grandchild I can talk to? And within like 2 seconds, it would fix the computer, right? And so, when we talk about education, like, we've all been in spaces where they're still teaching like 1800 type of education, and you're like, wait, where's the tech that like we're using modern technology and you're not teaching any of that, right? And then how do we say, because how many adults really go to adult school? And adult school could be like, hey, there's a whole new internet on the world, do you know how to use it? Today we became the entrepreneurs that, either social media managers, right? We've become all these new type entrepreneurs that were selling their tech expertise because schools weren't doing it.
Yeah.
Now we might have a new tech school that is a vocational programming school because regular schools weren't doing it.
Mhm.
And so, it doesn't make sense in where we're moving in a very airy energy of Aquarius. Like, we're not going to wait for textbooks to be created so that you learn how to use cryptocurrency. Like, by the time we wait for textbooks and 1,000 people reviewed it and expert of that field to know how to use a wallet, I'm sure that any kid you picked up on the street is gonna be like, here's how you use a wallet, right? And you don't need a
Yeah.
degree for that. So, I think we're starting to hit the place where the amount of information that's coming out that we can use tech with, or even anything that we can use, the children are way better than we are. I don't want to admit this. I'm not gonna say my age, but I remember those days when I used to make. My dad still says it. Oh, that's VHS. I used to know all about the VHS. And you're like, yes, Dad. Okay, sure. And now, like, I'm not gonna say it. I remember those days where beep beep. It's like, you don't want a kid to be like, ew, what kind of sound is that? That's the internet. Internet makes that kind of sound.
It's the AOL
It
CD.
is. So, for us, like, even for me, when I went to school for computer science, the web was like one teacher was teaching the internet. So I had to go on the
Teaching the
internet, to learn HTML. Like for me, I was basically just messing around with HTML, broke a couple websites and learned how to use HTML because there are no teachers teaching that, right? So it's interesting that in today's, like, are we at a place now where YouTube University is faster than, putting up a curriculum, in our school education?
I think that'll be the interesting part to navigate. Because the other thing about the distribution channels of this infrastructure is that they can be like highly personalized. So, which is good and bad, I think the only problem a lot of us have with algorithms is that like we don't get a say in them. Like if I could make it work for me, like that's dope. But like someone else just telling me, like that's not cool. Like I don't want that. But actually I thought I had a question for both of you. I thought of this earlier today. And I was thinking about Charlie, like you were saying that like public school is this place where like one kid brings their trauma and it spreads to the next. And then, and it was like that was very much my experience in public school too. And I was thinking about how like mothers go so out of their way to keep their children from exposing things that like they know are just like BS or whatever, right? You don't want your kids to have to like go through some of the nonsense you did. So in this new metaverse world where we have these like more personalized distribution channels, like, I think that's where it's going to be interesting, where parents can actually interact with their children, is like having more autonomy over like what gets delivered to them essentially, like through their learning. So, but it also brings up the case of, and I guess is where I'm interested in you guys chiming in. If everyone's learning kind of different stuff, where does like the cohesion and like, or is that just where the point of having like a central core nucleus or shared value or something comes up?
This is such a great question. And I literally talked about this in my class today, right? So today was my second day back in the new semester at Cal State Long Beach, and I'm teaching materials and methods for K through 12. Now, typically how this class was taught before I began teaching it was the professor had a set number of lessons. They gave the supplies that go with that lesson. And then each student had the opportunity to personalize it with how they chose to decorate it. But everyone had the same lesson, but then you personalized it. When I came in, and that's what it was, I thought I was going to lose my mind. Because essentially, and this is no shade to any iPhone person out there, but this is like my thing with the iPhone. Everybody's screen looks the same. You can get a different case, right? You can change your background, but like where things are, it's where things are. Whereas on an Android, you can do all kinds of different shit. Like it's so customizable. And so the way I teach the class now is, hey, everybody, we're going to do sketchbooks. But how you choose to put together your sketchbook, what parts you use, what materials you use, it's up to you. And then what I want you to do is to share with the class how you did it. Because what that entails, or what that like causes, is this expansion of knowledge and expansion of like new perspectives. Because I have the way that I do sketchbooks, and I've done my sketchbooks like this forever. So that's what I'm going to do. But then if Charlie comes in and then Jackie comes in, and they both teach me a different way on how to make sketchbooks, that is a win for me, because it's expanding my knowledge base. So I feel like that goes in hand with what you're saying, because yes, there's not a central like singular way of doing it. But if you get people to like, there's always different ways to do things. And if you can share that with other people, it's building up your knowledge base. It's definitely adding to that survival of the fittest. Because if you go out into a space, and what if they don't have, or what if you don't have the same supplies that you're used to using to make a sketchbook, and then you're like, but because Charlie and Jackie showed me a different way, I'm good. I'm more empowered. I'm able to really diversify.
I think you just made a case for states' rights. I was just kidding. I was just thinking of that, but yeah, no, that's so. I mean, I think that's cool. Like you're actually saying, like, yeah, you like you're limiting expression when you're already standardizing from like the input level.
Because then what are you doing? So I have 27 students in my class. So if I teach them just this one way, then what are they inherently or more likely going to do? Go out and teach that same exact way to hundreds of kids that they're going to have in a classroom. And that's where we have been.
Yeah.
That shit needs to go far, far away.
What I really like, really quick, what I really like what you're saying too is they're explaining their process. So we're kind of flipping that. Like, it's not about the product. It's not about
process over everything.
Right. But how you did it. Yeah.
It's about the journey, not the destination. Yes, I just said a cliche phrase, but it's real. It's real AF.
Girl, you live, laugh, love.
Yeah.
Every damn day.
I mean, this goes back to where we believe that critical thinking was what we were going through in school, right? Is the experiences gives us an idea to think differently, to understand how we got to the process. And this goes back to even like the old saying of like, sit and smell the roses, right? because we're hustling so much, so we're so quick at getting to the end of the path that we forgot, like the journeys where we got the experience. That's where we got the thinking. That's when we changed into this new person. That's our hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
So
so
I
good.
do feel like intrinsically, even in astrology, that's why it's the same chart, the same things. It's just moved around to give you different
Mm,
um, things. We are fractals of ourselves, and so we all have the same seven emotions, right? The same, and we talk this in both TCM and medical systems. But it's how we want to experience the world that we will pick. It's almost like when you play roulette, and everyone puts a little token on the roulette, right? Whether you want black, red, or even odd numbers. And wherever that goes, that's your luck of the draw to experience the world in that perspective, right? And so because of that, um, like the internet, if you guys think about it, and the idea of Napster is, instead of having one place where all the music is, every computer that is in the network is a node for the bigger whole, right? And so what we're meant to be is not to be copying each other, but being so unique that in the moment that you need something, the right person with the right unique qualifications of who they are will match up with you, giving you a very unique experience that is exactly what you need, right? Versus we're in a place now where, and you see it in Hollywood, you see it in most industries, is once you get the routine where I can get 75% of the way where everyone's gonna buy in it, you just add some makeup and it's a whole new product. But it's not, it's the same product, the same story, right? And so Hollywood is really just telling the same human experience, just reusing assets. So really, and as a Virgo, I love patterns. So all I see is recognized patterns, right? And so what's really exciting is it's, again, the new cycle. There's a new change. Money is changing because when you think about it, when we went from a place of I mean, from what our education taught us, is we are all immigrants from other countries that came to this land to grow food with the idea that all men and women are created equal, to be able to have the human right to grow food and be self-sustaining, and that's supposedly the beginning of that conversation. But yet today we've fallen into all these little loopholes where we are outsourcing all of our who we are, right? And so the conversation should be, how do we become more individualized, right, while still retaining our common humanity, where we're going to have the same emotions, but how we experience is going to be different, and we should be, and that's kind of where we're at with influencers and celebrities, right? But in our astrology, if we actually push and lean into who we are, more people would be able to appreciate that about us, versus like, hey, I'm just another Asian guy, and I'm the Asian stereotype, and my astrology has nothing that makes me unique, that makes me Charlie and not just an Asian guy, right? Um, and I think we are, as a culture, also are trying to get past these labels, because those labels also get us stuck into separating ourselves in the wrong way, and that's why I think we're paying attention to the wrong differences, and I think that's why today, even in conversation of money, what we consider valuable is different among culture.
Oh, so good. I
For
love
some reason,
y'all.
when you were saying that, I was like, oh, he's an Asian Virgo. I don't know. I was so silly before we got on this interview, and now it's coming back, you guys.
Yes.
It's okay. Yes.
Like, what does that mean?
It's extra.
You're like, we're getting away from the labels. I was like, but more. What part of Asia? It's what my MBA taught me to do.
Oh my God.
Emerging markets, guys.
Mhm.
No, just kidding. Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I started off strong. I was like, here's my professional experience, but then we got everywhere. Like, I don't even know where we are anymore.
It's okay.
Cosmic
Bring me back.
labyrinth is what we do.
A lot of Pisces energy in the house.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, we can kind of round it back because now we're kind of getting to the 1 hour mark. So we can kind of like, if we want to, we can continue the conversation. You know, I think Indy was right. Like we can keep going as much as we want to keep talking about where we're talking about. I just think that, you know, if we wanted to kind of go back to the same topic, you know, of financial conversation, astrology, and cosmic labyrinth, we can
Yeah,
talk a little bit more about, you know, what we've been doing in the back end of things, because this is really the exciting stuff, right? That we're really excited about, because the conversation of money to us too, I think a lot of us who are in what I call the, I don't say new age, but I would say like the new world, where we believe that we've been sent here to really work in this new world and we were waiting for it, but we had to live in the old one first to kind of see the pitfalls. And so what's really exciting about today is, you know, we get to really now say, what's the solution and what can we work on? Because we're the only one that's going to be doing anything, right, about it. Because I think like the old generation is kind of like,
why is Tizzle lighting up?
he's taking pictures.
Sorry, I like really want to keep going, but I'm like, what is happening?
She got a photo shoot going on over there.
My partner just came home and was like trying to turn on the light. And then he was like, wait a minute. And he was like, let me just, it's like, we're clubbing. And the
Oh,
cosmic
yeah.
labyrinth.
Nice. Yep.
It reminds me of that guy who's like in the green screen at a NFL stadium watching the game
Yes.
in a Zoom meeting.
He's just gonna like streak by soon.
Tizzle teleported to a club real quick.
Oh.
What we're saying.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about like what's going on with Cosmic Labyrinth and the currency and the things we're trying to bring about. If you want to
Yeah.
hop into that. Cool. Well, I mean, you guys have done so much with Cosmic Labyrinth to begin with, and the website's amazing, cosmiclabyrinth.world. There's a lot. I didn't do our mission statement.
It's okay. It's
Perfect timing right now.
Yeah.
Segue. Do
Oh,
it,
okay.
do
Let's do it.
now.
Really? Okay. All right.
good.
So going into our website, the cosmic portals have opened and we are awakening to a rehumanizing cosmic consciousness where everyone can discover their cosmic powers. This is an important time where we learn to build and experience heart-centered technology that connects us to the natural world and our inner selves. Cosmic Labyrinth is a multidimensional and ever-evolving experience where children and inner children are empowered to live with curiosity and cosmic consciousness. We are developers, artists, healers, and scientists building an intervolutionary? Indy's words are amazing. Gaming platform that is a nexus of knowledge about ancient cultures, mystic wisdom, and self-care. We currently curate educational play shops online and in person that reconnect us to the wisdom of the elements and the science and spirituality inherent in them.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
And, you know,
Woo!
I love this because I was listening to one of Indy's Political Hope podcasts earlier today, and he asked an important question to, I believe she was like a tech lawyer, and he said, like, how do we really remove spirituality or this cosmic consciousness? Like, how do we actually remove that from politicians? Like, how can you actually separate that from, you know, the decisions you're making and things that you want to do? And it's really cool that in the Cosmic Labyrinth, like, we've all come together on shared values. Like, Indy was so good about, like, you know, putting out those things that we are like agreeing on doing. Like, we are all agreeing that we're going to meditate and take care of ourselves and show up in the world and volunteer and figure out how to have a cosmic currency that rewards people for the natural things they do based on their astrology charts. So I'm super excited for when we actually get rolling with the astral DNA NFTs and, you know, moving into the whole avatar world and letting people do cosplay. I mean, like we've had so many good ideas and there's so many good things cooking. And there's already been 2 successful events where you guys have like done on the ground work that's inspired community people. And yeah, we're already blasting off.
Yes, it's super excited. I'm excited to just play around with the idea of like balancing a lot of the currency, because what we've been talking about, it's been super, out there, but I think there's a place for it where we can talk about having multiple type of currencies. So we talk about having the 4 elemental currencies that could support the 4 elements in our own culture. So we were excited to really think about that process. The Cosmic Labyrinth is all about experiences, experiments. And so we're going to experiment this, hoping that we're trying to bring more awareness to the 4 elements and astrology, right? But we don't want to really, I've had a lot of conversation about like, I love astrology, but a lot of people learning 12 signs is really difficult, So we wanted to really be in an intuitive space, and the 4 elements is a great conversation to explain that intuition, but having a currency that actually support these 4 elements that are always interplaying together in our reality, right? And farming earth is like one of the biggest conversation we're having today, but water is also just as important. Solar energy, and fire, and the car engine that makes the car run, that's all fire energy, right? And then air, I mean, here we are having breathing conversation today, and hopefully we won't have to pay for free air, but
Oh God.
hopefully we don't get to that point.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing with water, right? So
Well, and to your point, Charlie, like we're moving into like globalism, whatever that definition is for you, or you believe it's going to be, or you think, or whatever. But like the technology alone, like we knew the internet was going to go here, and now we're going to like even more layers with that, with remote work. And even growing up American, like I was only ever really used to the US dollar. I'm actually only 20 minutes from Canada, so I shouldn't say that. My parents would go to the casino in Canada and have to exchange their money. But so, I mean, that was like my only exposure to like another currency. And then obviously getting this like MBA in global supply chain, it was like, there were so many things that blew my head open about, oh, wow, like I'm an American citizen voting on this level. And like, here's my president. And then there's the rest of the world, interacting with us. And there's all these levels and different currencies happening. And there's other countries where there are multiple currencies within one country. So like even it's the same thing, and also in those countries, people probably speak 5 languages and I only speak 1. So like Americans specifically have like a very myopic view. So for us to take on having these like 5 elements of a currency and actually seeing like, oh, wow, our collective is using a lot of fire, no one's attending the air events, or like it's a discussion for all of us to have that intrinsically has value built into the currency because it's elemental. And it's going to be awesome. Like, and it's interesting because no one's done this yet. Like, I mean, we had a meeting about it with a few different token engineers, and like they were all like, oh, we've only done 1 token. Like we haven't done 4 not competing, but
complementary tokens,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's really exciting because we get to really push those boundaries on everybody, right? Like, what'd you say you can't do? You can't do this? Well, we're going to tell you, and that's, to me, as a technologist, that's exactly what technology is for. You don't say, no, I can't do it. You invent the technology to do it. That's what it's for. It's not so that it limits our creation. It's supposed to make our dreams come true, right? I mean, that's exactly what the whole idea of flying to the moon was. We want to go to the moon. Fine. We don't have the technology to fly to the moon. So make rockets. We made rockets. If we don't have a system that works for our money, our education, and for us to be financially sovereign, let's make it up. And if it's difficult, that's because, it was meant to be difficult to work for everybody. A lot of people talk about, let's be inclusive. And what I find is really sad is in this inclusivity message, we created too many labels, and now we've created the opposite of inclusivity, right? So, I'm hoping in this kind of cryptocurrency world, it's more of the intention of the currency and what they value that's going to be this Uranus in Taurus revolution, rather than worshiping the money itself, right? And we've had this conversation about it, where money was never, it's again, it was a great idea to help technology in terms of exchanging energy, and it was corrupted because there's too much power in it, and it corrupted the system, right? So
The
yeah.
thing too that you touched on, which Jackie, Charlie and I have this thing, right? I don't know if I've shared it with you, but like one of us will get a thought and then the other one will speak on it before the other one has like thought it. And so when he just made the comment about people like saying they can't, I was thinking at every event that we've had, right? Even the first one on June 25th, there were people who were like, wow, I'm usually not active. I don't like go out and do things, but like watering these plants, like it's making me break a sweat. Yeah, you're using your fire element and your water element at the same time. And the fact that we're using tokens in a way to like activate and synergize people who don't typically think of themselves as active or athletic, but I know from our community regeneration event in August, digging in soil that is impacted and dry, it is, oh,
A lot of
I
work.
mean, you're like, God, like to break ground. And I was like, oh, this hasn't even been 5 minutes and I'm sweating. And so in that those less than 5 minutes, that's fire, right? It's earth, it's air, because I'm talking about how it's like so intense. And then there's also the water element of it because I'm sweating.
Yeah.
You're
But
fine.
in addition to that, like the heart or the ether is in it too. It's because like I know that this is something that I need to do in order to make a change, in order to impact, in order to make the soil so that it can be regenerated to actually nurture and like nourish the plants that we're putting into it. So there's like a whole different level of synergy and connecting with those 5 elements. And it's great because for people who just sit on their phones and play games like, oh, I made a plant today. Oh, let me check on my plant on my app. You can do it in real life and still earn coins from what you're doing and expanding this thing you already have a passion for because you love to, see your plant grow on an app or in a game. But when you go out and you're with the community of people who are doing the same things, it breaks you away from the phone, and gets you back into the community. And then there's an alignment that ends up happening because you're doing things that are innate within you, but have been pushed away from you because it's like, oh, the individual and just be by yourself and on your computer or your tablet or your phone. It's not innately who we are. It's not the same as being introverted, y'all. Okay. Like shout out to the people who like to just have their space, because the Gemini in me is real. So I get it. But the community, that is so, it hits right here in the heart.
Well, you're right. I mean, it's there's a community garden that one of me and my friends are involved with here in Buffalo. And I was like tying up tomato vines this past Saturday, and it was hot here and I was like sweating, and I was just thinking to myself, I mean, your body loves it. Like it feels good. Like I even had some sunburn and I was like, yes, like that felt good. And it's just, yeah, like people, it's almost like that expression, people say you got to see it to believe it, but I say like, you got to believe it to see it. And it's like, just get out and go do something, see how you like, just do it and you'll see how good you feel from these things. And like you said, Tizzle, it's like there, I started this out saying that like I went to the internet a lot to like get solace and solve issues and stuff, but really like human connection is just there is no substitute for it. And that's really what Cosmic Labyrinth is about too. Like we concentrate on these pop-up events and facilitating like in real life things that we can do and build together. And what's cool is like the DAOs and the metaverse and like all that stuff. Like, it's just a good way to organize all the things you don't have to do on site at the event so that you can actually like really get down and dirty, like at the event. So yeah, I think we're doing some pretty revolutionary stuff.
We're at the forefront for sure. It's like, I had an opportunity to talk about just what we're doing as alternative educators with my students. And they were just like, wide-eyed. I'm like, what? This happens? I was like, yeah, we're slightly guerrilla with what we do, but it's all good because
like think 56K modem. That's who we are right now. So don't worry, we'll get to 5G soon enough.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, it's so funny. When I was at the newspaper, we had this like 100 years ago, like front page every day. They would like flip it. And so I would read it like every day. And like in winter time here in Buffalo, they would have ads that just said like, you know, if we knock on your door, you need to come shovel the street because we need to get like cars through. This is like, you know, 100 years ago. And I was thinking today, I was on my porch. I was like, man, you couldn't just like, you and your neighbors couldn't get together and like fill in a pothole. Like you just like, we're so trained to just not, you know, to just wait for a councilman to do it or wait or like complain about it. But we don't have, we've given so much of that authority away. And I think that's cool what Cosmic Labyrinth is doing too. It's like, let's just see, you know, let's see if the people of this community want to do this. And then let's have those conversations if you want to like stop us. But that seems really not cool, but that's so not true. Cool. So that should work, right, guys? You're being uncool.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you bringing that up about how you used to be able to just say like, hey, like, we're going to do this thing, come and do it, like, be a part, like, help uplift our community, help make our streets safer, help make the cars that are going to like get jacked up from this pothole. Like I can't think of the name of the organization, but I see them on Instagram. There are these gentlemen who go out at night and they fill potholes in the city, and it's their whole mission because so many people's cars have been damaged. And like, when you think about a car being damaged, it's like, that's someone's like money, that's their livelihood if they can't get around. And it's like, not to say that public transportation isn't, you know, viable, but that's really difficult, especially for people who have jobs that are like 2, 3, 4 cities over.
Well, like even our taxes pay for that, like the upkeep of those buses that are hitting the potholes and everything. So yeah, someone's paying for it at the end of the day. Every day, every hour, every day.
Yeah. It's okay to take a stand in your community because you taking the stand, it's not just a selfish act. It's you standing up, taking action, and doing something that's literally going to have a ripple effect for everyone in your community, for the highest good of the community. And when you think of it in those terms, how can you not?
Yep. And that's like, that's where the DAOs come in. Cause I think I've said this to you guys before, like, you know, the old way of thinking about things was if we build it, they will come. And Web3 is if they come, they will build it. So if you can, and we're already seeing that, like if we can get people to feel really strongly about, you know, you get a bunch of artists to collaborate on an NFT project. And then that community starts out and they're meeting on Twitter Spaces, and then they go to Discord, and then they're like, hey, let's do a real life event because we all want to meet in person. Like you guys have, I think all of us have probably done like holistic retreats or things before. Yeah. You become lifelong friends with some of those people. Yes. I mean, it's a bond. It's a thing that you go through together. So even if we can like use the internet as a tool to facilitate these things in person. Like that, it's just, and it's a cool time to be alive. You know, there's going to be more global mobility as we move forward, hopefully for everyone. But
Yeah, I feel like there's gonna be even we're gonna realign ourselves to be a little bit more tribal too. I think what's happened with city living and what's happened with again the labels, right? We're families, we're in the city, and these are our bonds. And what we've realized is the bonds that we've created are not the bonds that make us happy, right? When the lockdown happened, you lived with the bonds you've created, whatever that was, right? And so that's why you saw a lot of people leaving, divorcing, because they realized the bonds they had created were an illusion of whatever they created before. So now today, I think we're at a place now where we're recreating bonds, and I think they're becoming more tribal, where it's all about intention of the soul, so that we're all gathering together beyond gender, race, or ethnicity or culture. Like people are really gathering with these intentions to do, and when you think about it, it makes sense that the greatest experiences of people gathering together would be the most diverse groups are gathering from all over the place. They're like, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. Well, who's got the script for us to all be here, right? And I feel that's what we're doing, where we're all kind
That's
of
the cosmic part.
exactly, right? Like I feel like we're like
Charlie, you got so deep.
Yeah.
You got so meta.
It is real though. It's real.
It reminds me of that movie with it was Stranger Than Fiction with I forget what the name, Will Ferrell, and
Oh my gosh.
right, she was
Great
writing
movie.
about him, but like she, it was just like what it's almost funny that we say imagination is made up, yet everything we imagine gets created, right?
Yes, manifest.
Manifested. So and then we go back to like make your dreams come true. Well, what came from your dreams? It was from a thought. That's how manifestation is making the dream come true. So what's really interesting is I feel like we're gathering to make this dream come true, and we don't even know, like we have an inkling of the dream, and we're like, wait, my dream said this, my dream said that. You're like, who wrote this paragraph?
Yeah. You know what's weird too is like, as a lot of us have left sort of like traditional workplaces and that, like I remember when I used to be at work, I would like daydream. Like I don't, and I noticed today, I actually thought, I was like, I don't really daydream anymore. Cause like, the entrepreneur life is, I'm still like hustling. I mean, I don't want to be, but like we're
you're doing it in a different way. It's different.
Yeah, but I still thought to myself, like, man, when I was a kid and I was like playing with dolls or whatever, like that was real to me. Like they were real. This was real. Like I was imagining, and I know I don't imagine things like with that realness, like presently right now. I need to like get back to like really like immersing myself and being present. Like I've been meditating for years, but when you like get off and you're kind of just like, oh, gotta meditate. And it's like, I shouldn't be like going and like, take a nap and rest for a minute. Like,
the other thing too, when you said that, it made me think part of not daydreaming is because like you're living the dream. Like you're actually in it.
Oh my God, Chisel.
No, I'm dead ass serious, because you're not like, oh, I wish and da da da, because what you would be dreaming about, you're actually doing it. And it's just like, we can't control what's external. Right?
Or can we?
Well, touche. I am the creator of my reality. Touche.
For real.
Air high five.
I'm giving you coins because like you just put me in such a place of gratitude. Like,
but that's as soon as you said it, Jackie, it was like, shoop. It's like you're not daydreaming because you are living the dream. And it's the thing is, it's not this story, this Disney story or this Cosmos story or this whatever fantasy that someone else wrote that a lot of us were indoctrinated with, and we're like, oh, I wish, and I wish I may, I wish I might. It's like, no, you are living your dream, like, and it's individual to you. And so the need to daydream is it's minimized because you're actually living it. And then when you do go to sleep and you're traversing these other realms and realities, like that's just helping you to deeper align with what you're supposed to be doing in this reality, in this 3D.
Yeah. And I told you guys, I've been working with Dream Jackie more and a lot of shifts happening. I think there's
Case
even
in
more
point.
Jackies than just dream and physical. I don't know.
Case in point, I love it.
It's definitely funny that my daydreams are more realistic these days. Like when I daydream, it's about like what I do see realistically myself in, in a state rather than like flying through space, right? Like, I mean, I may have had the morning I used to watch a lot of a comic book superhero movie, comic books, when I was young. So I had like the very like drastic daydreaming of like being a superhero. But like today's superhero like tends to look like Clark Kent, small boy, farm boy, right? Like that's what I imagine. Like I don't imagine. To me, it's like the lifestyle, of, like saving the world. I'm like, that's a lot of work. Let's go back to the farm space guy. I want to go to the farmer boy, dude.
Yes.
It's really interesting that I think we're becoming more, or at least for me, my dreams are become more realistic, and yet they're happening more because like my escapism is really escaping into my future, right?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Say it again for the people on the back.
Right. And so it's like, to me, I try to like, I see the different versions of myself talking, saying, hey, did you make that happen? I'm like, no, I'm still working on that. What about you? I like baby Charlie's got to talk about what baby Charlie's going through, so that like today Charlie understands why today Charlie's got the issue or the great things he's got, right? You're like, man, baby Charlie, did you really go through that? That's why I feel so blah 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 about this. So future
like-
Charlie is always like, Charlie, come on, you got to be better at this. You got great dreams coming on.
Oh my God, is that higher self Charlie? Is that the higher self Charlie voice? I love it. Oh my
Higher
God.
Charlie self. Higher Charlie self sometimes sounds like Buddha. He like asks the same questions, and it sounds like, is that supposed to be deep? That sounds really deep. Let me think about that one.
Oh my gosh.
I love
Charlie,
us.
you're like the nicest person. You're just so nice all the time. I just love like I'm escaping to my future.
I love, dude, like what?
Yeah, my
Like,
face.
Yeah. My crazy.
Oh,
I want to
thing
use
that-
this line on someone.
Yes.
Get away from me. I'm escaping to my future. Bye.
but really, because when you make the point to say what it is you're doing and you're not letting someone else say it for you, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Like everyone, I mean, maybe escaping into your future isn't your thing, but I'm about to make it my thing. Ow.
At night
So
when I'm dreaming.
It's funny because it's actually a particular story that happened recently. I was just rethinking about, I'm actually in acupuncture. A lot of people don't know. Like it was a lot of set of synchronicities. Like I was done with school. It was like when I graduated, engineering, I was like, I'm never coming back to school. It didn't teach me anything. Why would I ever come back, right? So when like I was faced with the potential going back to 4.5 years, to get a doctorate degree, I was like, who's talking to me into this, right? And that's when I had actually Indy's friend. When he came to Houston with me, we went to visit some of his friends, and one of the girls, she's like, I don't tell many people this, but you seem to be like pretty open about this. I'm like, sure, what is it? You have someone following you, like an old man who's got a Fu Manchu, acupuncture and herbs. And I'm like, is that my great great granddaddy following me? So at the time I was like, must be great great grandfather ancestor. And I've been kind of believing that, right? And then I'm starting to get this Fu Manchu myself. And then I was like, wait, if I get a Fu Manchu and I look like this character, did future Charlie come back and say, yeah, go into acupuncture? And it just like tripped me out for a little bit, because now I was like, I wouldn't know the difference if it was like, future Charlie who looks like ancestor Charlie, or if it really was my ancestor who just looks like me, but because it's the same genetics, right? We're expressing in the
Okay.
future and the past. And so I don't know, I had that moment this week and I was just tripping like, okay, like, because the idea of like, people talk a lot about spirit guides, and then you hear this a lot in spiritual community, and that, and then I think we even in the spiritual community should go through our own retrogrades and review some of the stuff we say, because sometimes we're just like way out there. We're just way.
What you guys are? Maybe you guys. I don't know about that.
Dude, my journals from 2019, 2018, 2019. And when I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, I literally was writing about what I'm doing right now. And I had no idea that like I was doing that. Like it freaks me out sometimes because there are journal entries literally 4 years ago that just talk about like, oh, I'm this and that. And it's like, I'll review it and be like, oh shit, I said that. Dang, I need to be so careful. I need to be
Asian
mindful.
Virgo
'cause
with a Fu Manchu
it's
will be my friend and together.
Dude, it's real. It's so
Yeah, you
real.
see your ancestor might be you, another past life, right?
And that's what like back in like 4th of July weekend, before like right before we started doing the show, Charlie and I were having like a prep talk about what we're gonna do. And I was sharing with him about how I have gone through these phases of meeting Virgos who like I thought like, yeah, this is the one that's going to help me like with the school and it's going to help me do this thing. I have this vision of alternative education. I've had it since 2018, 4 years ago. And like, but there were like these trials, like, okay, like there's this game called Driver where when you're learning, there's like a ghost car that you follow and it helps you to like know the track and where to go. These people were like the ghost car. But now, like meeting Charlie, I was like, dude, I don't have the ghost car. You're like in the car with me on this journey. And then I went even deeper and I was like, dude, did you ever realize the glyph for Virgo? And he was like, no, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, there's an M, right? And what's leaning on the M? He was like, and I was like, it's a fish. And I was like, what is my sun sign? He was like Pisces. And then we were like, whoa. And I was like, my Piscean flowy energy needed the structure of your earthy Virgo-ness in order to help guide me in the right way, in order to help get me on the path that I need to go to. Because otherwise I'm just, yay, we're flowing. Ooh. And then it's like in addition to that, like I heard, and I forgot where I heard it from, but they said like when you get deja vu, shout out to the Matrix, but when you get deja vu, it's a sign that you're on your right path because you're remembering something that you've already done. And so spirit is just like, yo, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. And I really feel like that's what's happening here, like especially in this conversation that we're having, and then like where we're going. Like y'all, it's 8:18 or no, 8:18 PST time, 11:18 Eastern time, 9:18 Central Standard Time, or is it 10:18?
Like whatever it is for Charlie.
Right? I always get it mixed up. I was like, is it 1 or 2 for me?
Yeah.
But it's like what we're talking about. And then when we clock this a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, we're gonna be like, yo, we literally said that we were gonna do this, and now we're fucking doing it. And this is really how you get it going, because when you synergize with like-minded beings, and it's real, it's not some fluffy like, oh hey, just Instagram like, like when you're really rooted into the cause, the mission, the experience, the labyrinth of it all, the cosmicness of it all, it really like percolates and becomes a reality. And I'm so grateful to be in the space with y'all. I got really emotional just there. I don't know what happened, but that was like from the heart, and like it's just so real, because it's like when you have this vision and idea, when you're on an island by yourself, just thinking of this thing that seems so impossible and like, how am I ever going to do this? How is this going to happen? But you stay true to it. You write about it. You consistently envision it. It will manifest. It will truly, it will come to you. So yeah,
Yeah.
go us.
And one thing about deja vus too that I think is really interesting, as a gamer, because I'm a major gamer and I've made plenty of games, so that's why I use a lot of game reference. And it's very common thing to do in games, but every game you play, there's usually a character that goes through the area, and every time they die, they go back to that spot. But you're kind of repeating this landscape until you succeed, and you have three
Yep.
hearts, 3 tries. But the last time when you finally cross through is when you beat it. So when you think about that, right, is what if you went to bed every night and you were actually transcribed into your future setting tomorrow, and then you're playing that whole scene in your head, but maybe in a difficult level. We've all experienced a difficult level, but you finally get it, you get through it, and you're yeah, I did it. And that moment is so ingrained that you're like, oh yeah, I remember level 18 in that moment where we had to do that. Yeah, I remember that level, like very clearly. And so to me, that's the deja vu, the moment where you kind of pass the threshold where like, I survived that moment.
Dude, to look back at it, you're like,
Yeah, like the hindsight.
damn.
You're like, woo, deja vu, but because I knew that if I cross this moment, it's almost like, that you passed the moment that like you were struggling in your sleep, maybe, right? And so those are things that like sometimes the imagery of games, like you have to think who's come up with all these games we played, and why do all these mechanics work? Like, why is the heart always the description of how you play the game? When you have no more heart, you don't play the game. You don't come back and play the game. But it's, and then when you get more hearts, you can last longer in the game, right? So even if we talk about the metaphor about reality, when you lose heart, is when we have a broken heart. And that's a common disease of today. Broken heart is a physical thing that happens that people kind of say, yeah, a heart attack. Yeah, that could be a broken heart. It could be an emotional broken heart that manifested, as cardiac arrest. So it's just very interesting that, I like to believe we're playing a video game and we haven't
Dude, the game, it's called The Game of Life.
Yeah.
Whoa,
And astrology is like the game manual you were meant to read when you were born. And it's like, here is how to work your body. Let's throw that away because we don't need it. We're going to these education camps that'll teach you how to use your body, but not really.
Wow, I love that you just called them education camps. I'm gonna drop that to my students on Tuesday. Well played.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we should really consider thinking about like Germany's wording again. Like back in those days, they played with wording very well. So that's we're right now playing word games right now. With the war. People are using words to like mess with people. So
spelling is casting spells, and that.
Yes. So we got to cast our own spells, right? Our own crypto. Oh, did Tizzo freeze?
Yeah. Well, I will say for the record, like I've worked on a lot of projects in the Web3 space. And from the minute I met you guys, it was just like, I felt like I was home, and like, I'm totally the most comfortable with you guys. And it's just, I think it's so beautiful. We're such a diverse team in so many ways, not even just like ethnically or whatever, but just like our paths, and there's like a real respect for what everyone's gone through and what's brought them to where they are now. And I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else. Like, I feel like we're really going to make it. Oh, Tizzle's gone. No, I just said I can't. Tizzle. No. Does this mean we have to? Wow, we've been talking 2 hours. I guess we should wrap it up.
She's been teleported. The universe is like, okay, y'all, too much energy being built here.
was like manual deja vu.
Yeah, apparently
Override.
did not make this exit point, so.
Oh my gosh. Well, this was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, Jackie. Thank you, everybody, for watching our show and learning more about crypto. We kind of went all over the place today, but it's okay. I think the conversation of money can get a little bit heavy, in general. So, we had conversation about ghosts too, so that was fun.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? As we keep going, I think the one thing we're impressing too is that the best teacher is experience. So like as we get more into what we're doing with all this currency stuff, and just so everyone knows, there's a lot of regulation stuff. There's a lot of things we have to keep in mind while we're doing this. And we have a really talented team that like just going to what Tizzle was saying and about our super group, like I'm telling you, after like meeting one, I did that little tarot spread and like I saw the whole thing. I was like, wow, the team's like, and I don't know, this might take 5 years, it might take 10, it might take 2, but it's like I can already see all the moving parts and it's going to be a great ride and learning with us and together in this community. It's just going to be very fruitful and enriching for everybody. So super, super excited.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you for joining us, and stay tuned, everybody. We'll definitely have Jackie come back when more things goes on with crypto, when we finally hit it big for some big crypto hit, hopefully.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Well, good night, everyone. Thank
Take
you,
care.
Jackie. Bye.